Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 10 of my Android Development for Beginners tutorial. Today we are going to continue what we started in part 9, and we're going to focus in on completely understanding how JSON data is stored and structured and can be used inside of your App Inventor apps. If you didn't watch part 9, you absolutely have to, because this is going to be one of the most interactive tutorials I've ever made. You're going to need the application that we had in part 9. I'm going to do my best to simulate it, but it's going to be a lot more fun and interesting if you have the app in front of you. And I have an immense amount to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so here we are. This is the new weather app, and I have all the blocks, and I have descriptions for every single thing here. What I did was I went ahead and I created all these new blocks. So they're going to have location, they're going to have temperature, weather. I just didn't want to put you through typing in all those names because that's boring. So all you need to do is go location, and then you see over here, if we cycle up, it's called location label. Then underneath of it or next to it, I have a location data label, another horizontal arrangement, temperature label, temperature data label, over and over and over again. The only other thing I added is a weather image, and as you're going to see here in a second, you're going to see what that's going to be. It's basically just going to be an icon representing the current weather, and I went through and created all of these different things here. And before I continue, I just want to make it quite clear. In the description under this video, I'm going to have the location and what I named it, and then there's going to be another label here and what named it, and so forth and so on. So you'll be able to create this on your own, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do it. And that's all that I did, and then I have the refresh button down here, and I'm going to show you that. That was the last episode's homework. I'm going to show you exactly how to make that if you didn't go and look at it before. And one thing that I want to cover here, because I keep getting questions about it all the time, is padding and how to simulate padding inside of App Inventor. Now, you can't put padding information for any of these labels. So if we come over here and you're going to look, no, there's nothing about padding. No, there's nothing about padding. So how do we put padding around all these labels to position things the way that we want them? Well, one way is to use a transparent ping. So for example, let's say that I want to put padding between this image and the word today right here. How would I do it? Well, one thing I could do is go into layout, get a horizontal arrangement, bring it over here and drop it right there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to user interface and I'm going to get myself an image and I'm going to drop it into that horizontal layout right like that. And you can see the image there. Then I can just come over here and get a picture. I'm going to need to upload a file. And what this is a 10 by 10 transparent ping file. So I'm going to choose file. And there you can see transparent ping. And all it is a transparent ping file that's 10 pixels by 10 pixels. I'm going to select it and I'm going to import it. And you can see there it is. And then if I want to put that gap in there, I can just come in here to the weight. Width really isn't going to matter. I could just say nothing. Horizontal arrangement, I'm probably going to want this to fill parent. Okay, and then go back into the image. And then if I want a 5 pixel gap between it, I just type in 5 pixels, hit OK. And that is going to create my 5 pixels of padding. And then of course, if you are using the layout table or the table arrangement layout, you could of course arrange all these different pieces, throw transparent pings inside of there between them, and pad away as much as you want. So that is how you handle padding. Now let's go and take a look at the finished application. Okay, so in this tutorial, this is what we are going to make, and how we are going to get this data is by taking what we made in the previous application and figuring out how to decipher the JSON so that we can get the exact information that we want. So in this tutorial, like I said, we're going to be bouncing back and forth between the application we made previously and then numbering and locating the data that we want inside of the lists of list. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again so you'll get it. Alright, so you know what the finished application is going to look like. So now our job is to make the refresh button work. So we're going to go back over into blocks. And you're going to see everything that we made previously. And what I need to do here is just make our refresh button work. So I'm going to find the refresh button right there. Click on it. And then I'm going to say whenever it is clicked, I want certain things to happen. One of those is that I want to set my global latitude value, which is going to be a variable, which is going to be this variable. It's called latitude value. I want to set it with an updated latitude. So let's go and move this down here and then grab that and drop it into place. I'm going to call the location sensor and get the current latitude. So let's scroll through here. And there it is. There is the latitude. I'm going to drop it right there. Then also, previously on the designer, let's jump over into the designer. I'm also going to have a latitude and longitude right here. And if we click right here, you're going to see that, where is it? There it is. The name of that label is latitude data label. So I want to set the value for our new latitude there. So let's scroll through this. Latitude data label. This right here, and I want to set the text for it, drag it right here, to being equal to the same thing as this. So let's just duplicate that. And I could of course put the variable inside of there, but whatever. Then I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the longitude. So duplicate that, drop that right there, duplicate this, drop that right there, and then change this to a longitude. There we are, longitude value. And this is going to be used for the URL whenever we're pulling the data. And this is just going to be the information that's going to go in the label. And then get the longitude data label. There it is, longitude data label. Got that set. And then of course change this to longitude right there. And of course change this to longitude. There we go. I have that all set. Then what I'm going to do, I don't know if I tried this before or not. I think I did. Yes. I want to check if the latitude is 0, and if it is not equal to, then I want to go get my updated weather data and put it on the screen. So I'm just going to duplicate that, grab that, bring it down here, and throw it in where the refresh button is. And that is how we're going to make the refresh button work, so that whenever it's clicked on, it goes and gets new weather data. And that's it. That's the refresh button. Now what we're going to do is go take a look at the application we made in part 9 of this tutorial series. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how JSON data is structured so that we will be able to go and get the individual pieces that we want. Alright, so this is the application that we made in the last part of the tutorial. And as we can see here, the important part is to figure out how these lists of lists are organized. Now, creation date is going to be in index 1, and creation date local is going to be in 2. And what we're going to do here first is find our location. And that is going to be stored inside of here because that's going to be pretty easy for us to do. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to find all this information. We're going to be spending a lot of time in data. But what we're going to start off with first is location, which is list item 6, and this is going to work best if you're a little bit interactive with it. So write down the number 6 or type it into a text editor, and then what we're going to do is try to figure out how to get to the Pittsburgh, PA part, which is right there. Well, the very first thing we're going to want to do is not get location, which would be, remember, this is a list, these are the main list items, and then this is a list inside of the list. So this is list number 6, and the name for it is location. Well, we don't want a location. What we want is all of the list items inside of location, the list that is called location. So to get the list and not the word location, we then want to get the second part of this list. So this is the list, and the list is called location. If we chose number 1, we would get the word location. Instead, we want the list. So we want to write down first 6, and we want to write down 2. So that's going to get all those items. Then what we want to do is get area description, which is going to be Pittsburgh, PA. Well, that is the very first item in our list. So we want to write down 1. So we have 6, we have 2, and we have 1. Write all those down. And then what you want to do is you don't want area description, you want Pittsburgh, PA. So in that situation, it's not the first item, it's the second item. So it all works down to 6, 2, 1 for the first item, and then 2 again for Pittsburgh, PA. So let's go and take a look at exactly how we do that and see that it works. Okay, so now that you saw that, what I opened up here is just the raw JSON data, and you can remember from the last part of the tutorial where I went and numbered each one of these pieces of data. And the very first thing we're going to get is the actual location where we are getting weather from. And as you just saw, that is the 6th item. There's location right there with my sloppy 6 that I wrote inside of there. And then specifically what we want is area description. which is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in this situation. So let's run through the raw data that we have right here and explain exactly what the codes are going to be for us to get the description. First, we're going to have 6. Then we don't want location. We want the actual list, which is going to be 2. So we're getting this data right here. And then we want list item 1, which, as you just saw just a second ago, Pittsburgh, PA is list item 1. So just put a 1 inside of there. So what we have is 6, 2, 1, and then we want Pittsburgh, PA. We don't want area description. So in this situation, in this part, this is going to be represented with 1 for area description, and Pittsburgh, PA is going to be a 2. So that makes our last number 2. And that is going to be the code we're going to use to get Pittsburgh, PA. So let's go take a look at that in App Inventor. How exactly are we going to structure that? Let's go and scroll down inside of here. And this is basically like I went in here and just changed these names so that we didn't have to mess around with that. Previously, what we were doing was we were going in and selecting list item 1, and then list item 2, and list item 3. We're no longer going to do that because we're going to be working with lists of lists. So let's just go and get rid of that all together. And let's jump over into our JSON data and get our code. 6, 2, 1, 2. The only thing is here is this is going to be flipped. So we are going to instead put 2, 1, 2, 6 inside of App Inventor. And that is how we are going to get the actual location. So let's jump back over into App Inventor and let's look, make sure we know. 2, 1, 2, 6. So 21, 26 is what we're looking for. Alrighty, so let's come in here. That just means we're going to need a whole bunch of these different things. And let's take this off here altogether. 21, 26 is what we're looking for. Let's duplicate that, drop that right there. And we're going to get rid of the weather data part here. Throw that in the trash. And it was 21. So let's show 2. And then we're going to need another one of them. So let's duplicate that. 21. So we're going to put a 1 inside of here. And then let's get this out of the way. Duplicate again. This is going to be 26. 2. And then the last one, the 6th part, is going to be this. And that is going to get our location data. And we can very quickly go over and take a look and make sure that that indeed is getting our location data. Okay, and if we run our app, you can see right there that location works. So we know everything's working. Alright, so now that you know that that works, what we're going to do now is go and get our other information. The next thing we're going to want to do is get our highs and our lows for the day. So I'm going to jump back over into the application and walk you through exactly how to get that. Alright, so now what we want to do is get highs and lows. And how we're going to do that is all the highs and low data is going to be stored in the 5th list, and that is called data. So we're going to slowly work our ways down into the highs and the lows. The highs and the lows are down here, and they are referred to as temperature. So to find them, we have to count our way through. So the first number we're going to write down is going to be 5, which is for that guy right there. Again, just like before, we don't want the word data. We want the list associated or called data. So then we're going to write down a 2. Then we need to figure out exactly how far down inside of here is the actual highs and lows. So we are going to go hazard is going to be the first. So that's 1. Hazard URL is 2. Icon link is 3. Come down through here. Pop is 4. And then temperature is 5. So now we're going to write down the number 5. So we have 5 for the main list item. 2, we don't want the name, we want the list. And then 5 is going to be the 5th. Temperature is the 5th item in this list. Then we don't want the word temperature, we want the list itself, so we're going to write down a 2. And then we want the very first item, which is going to be today's high, which is going to be 25. So we're going to write down 1. So that all works down to 5, 2, 5, 2, 1. So let's go and take a look at exactly what that looks like. And then, of course, the low is just going to be 9. Alright, so we have today's high and today's low, and we're going to pretty much do exactly the same things we just did before. Get these list items. Get this list item. I'm just going to duplicate this whole entire thing. Bring it down here. Today's high, data label. Drop it right there. And then we just need to plug in the specific code. In this situation, that's going to be 1. And I'll zoom in here and make sure you can see. 2, 5. And then this one, let's get out of here. Grab that, duplicate it. Put this right here. And then it's going to be 2. And then it's finally going to be 5. And there you go. And to get the low, it's the next item in the list. It's going to be very easy to grab that. Let's just duplicate this, drop it in for the low, and it's the second item in the list. So the only thing we need to change here is this one. And there we go. And that's going to work for us. Great. Now what we're going to do is go and get the actual descriptions for this. So let's go take a look at exactly how we're going to do that inside of our app. Okay, so this time what we're going to be doing is getting the actual text, which is going to be like an abbreviation of what the weather is expected to be today. So that is in data also, just like before. So we're going to write down a 5. Then we're going to go 2 because we don't want the word data. We want the list. Then we have to count through here. So hazards 1, hazard URLs 2, icon is 3. Cycle through this. Pop is 4. Temperature is 5. Text is 6. So we're going to write down 5, 2, 6, and then we need to get the light snow likely, We don't want text, so we're going to write down a 2, and then we want the first item in the list, which is light snow likely. So we're going to write down that. And then, of course, whenever we want tonight's weather, we're going to say that we want the second item, which would be 5, 2, 6, 2, 2. So the first item is going to be 5, 2, 6, 2, 1, and the next item is going to be 5, 2, 6, 2, 2. Alright, so now we know how to get our descriptions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to duplicate this whole entire thing, drop it right there, and duplicate, drop this right here, and duplicate, and drop this right here. There we go. And then we saw the codes that were used to get those before. They're just going to be a 1, 2, that still works, 6, 2, and 5. All of those are going to work perfectly. So actually, you know what, just take this out here and trash it. Because we have one description after another, we can just come in here and now duplicate it. Now we know we got the very first description, weather description for whatever the day, and duplicate this again. And now, if we want the second description, all we need to do is change this guy right here to 2, and we want the third one, come in here, grab this one, change that to 3. And that's going to grab just that very specific piece of information that we're looking for. And now let's go and take a look at exactly how we're going to get temperature and the data label and wind chill and all of these other different things. All right, now we're going to be getting into current observation, which is probably going to be the most important part because we're going to be getting a ton of data out of this. So we're going to want temperature 19, we're going to want relative humidity, which is RELH there, dew point, gusts, we want all that information. So the vast majority of what our app's going to do is all going to be contained here, which of course is list item 4. So then what we need to do is just count the items because they're all going to be exactly the same except for one number. So let's look at temperature because that's going to be very, very important. So temperature is right here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go 4. We want the fourth list item. 2, we don't want current observation. We want the actual list item. So we're going to write down a 4 and a 2. Then we want the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We want the 7th item in the list, which is going to be temperature. And then we don't want the word temp. We want the 19, which is the actual temperature. So we're going to have 2. And that all works down to 4, 2, which is the list, 7, temperature is the 7th item in the list, and then finally 2. We don't want the word temp, we want 19. And then we just have to do that for all of these. And you could sit here for a second and type in 1 for altimeter, or however you say that, 2 for date, 3 for dew point, 4 for gust, 5 for relative humidity, and so forth and so on. And then you'll very, very easily be able to find all of that data. Alright, so now you know how to get the temperature and all the other different parts. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to duplicate this and we're going to drop it in there because the code that we got was 4 digits long. And remember, we're just reversing them. So for the temperature, we're going to have 2 and we're going to have 7 and we are going to have another 2 and then we are going to have 4. Whoops, make sure we get that 4. Alright, and that is going to get our temperature, our very specific temperature. Then all we need to do is go through and add in all of the other ones. So for our weather data, well, first off, let's go, doesn't really matter. Grab this, duplicate this, drop it right there for the wind chill. And wind chill is going to be 2. It's the 11th item on our list. So let's just put 11 inside of there. And then that's going to be 2 and 4. So the only thing that's changing is the second digit right here. The weather data, which is a very brief explanation of the current weather conditions. We're going to duplicate this. That is the 9th item in the list. So we're just going to change this to 9, and we'll be able to grab that. We're going to get humidity. Let's duplicate this again, drop it right there. And humidity on our list was the 5th item. So replace this 11 with 5. Done. Now we got humidity. Weather image is going to be a little bit different. We are going to be using a URL to get the weather image. Let's go and take a look at where we're going to get that from. But let's cycle through here, and if we find the URLs, we're going to basically build a URL. So what we need to do here is we need to take this URL that is right here. Well, that works. So let's go and get this URL, and let's close this. And you can see there an example of the type of image we're going to be pulling in. And then we're going to build this URL here. So we're going to do that by going into text, and we're going to get a join, because you just need 2 parts here. And then we're just going to put in a double quote and paste, grab that, drop it into place. And then we need to get the ending part. Let's just look at this rather than jumping over to an application. Current observation. And then what we're going to want to get is weather image. And this is the link, and that will let everything be dynamic. And how to get weather image is just going, we're going to need one of these guys again. Duplicate that, drop it right there. And weather image was the 10th item in that list. And there we go. And I'll let you go on your own for homework to figure out how to get the first description. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. But basically what you're going to want to do is come into this and pull in this afternoon, tonight, and Friday. So that will be your homework, but of course I'm going to have a link in the description that's going to show you exactly how to solve that. And then if you do all those different things, your application is going to work beautifully. And then in the next part of the tutorial, what we're going to gear towards is making our app look more professional, which is going to have a lot to do with how we're going to design our interface. Please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.